Mark McGowan has signalled a return to tough border laws used during the pandemic. The WA Premier allowing police to stop and search anyone entering the state.
It wasn't that long ago we had all of our state premiers and the leader of the government telling us that the reason that they're infringing on our rights and all these civil rights abuses, everything was proportional because it was an emergency. These emergency use powers were temporary, they promised, because, of course, there was a health pandemic and the government had to do all sorts of crazy measures like stop people crossing the border, randomly stop you using the police, search you randomly for, ask you random questions about why you're outside and all this type of stuff. Well, it turns out that at least in Western Australia, the Premier there, Mark McGowan from the Labor Party, who has a massive majority in the parliament there, has decided that, these powers, they worked so well during the pandemic to stop people from taking drugs, according to him, because they've tested the sewerage and found that meth use was much lower during the pandemic. So now they've decided to extend these powers to the police, effectively to the government through the police, to stop people without any cause, right? Any probable cause, any reason whatsoever to stop them at these designated zones, so usually ports of entry so far, to search them for whatever they like and to stop them whenever they like. And, the limit on this power is really that they'll review it every 5 years. I think it's running up until 2028 or thereabouts. So, essentially, we have a government now saying that pandemic abuses of power was excellent for our system of enforcement. So we're going to extend that out now to the rest of the everyday normal life, right? This is the new normal, which they said wouldn't happen, but all of a sudden it's happening. And add insult to injury, Mark McGowan is of course comparing this to the way that when you cross state lines, sometimes they'll check for fruit. And look, I'm not against, police having powers to fight drug trafficking and all of this kind of things. But it has to be proportional and it has to be in line with the rights of everyday Australians to freely move about their country without being harassed by the police, without these powers being abused, without the police using these powers for other reasons. Okay? I need to stress this very clearly to everyone listening. All of this sounds great on paper when they present it, but there are so many ways that these type of powers can be abused, right? Their ability to search without any cause whatsoever Australians, like this is kind of what it's becoming like in this country. And right now we have these zones that they've designated, these ports, but then they can extend these zones out to other areas. All of this happens slowly, right? But it happens. It's happening in the background. And this example right now of what's happening in Perth, at the end of this, I'm going to play the video. So just get an idea of what the news is, how the news is presenting this. It's all presented as like, oh, this is just like the way it is now to fight crime. There's always a reason why these rules and stuff is pushed upon society, whether it's to fight crime, whether it's to, can I say 15-minute cities or those kind of concepts that we're hearing about, which are apparently conspiracy theories. But, you could ask some people in Oxford what they think about the conspiracy. These type of rules which are put towards everyday people as very reasonable things to kind of save the planet or stop drugs. But at the end of the day, all of it is encroaching on our rights and, the protections that we should have under law. And the police are getting more and more power. The government is getting more and more power over our lives. And when you pair this up with some of the other things that they have in store for us, whether it's digital ID, all these type of concepts, it's all going to be put together. And at the end of the day, we are losing as a society, as people, when we look at where our rights are. So it's very important and it's incumbent upon all of us to keep tabs on this stuff. WA is basically some sort of, tin pot dictatorship, very similar to, Victoria, where our premiers run off to run off to China to do his secret deals or whatever he's doing with CCP business interests and all this kind of nonsense. And the media from here can't go. No one can really know about what's going on there. And he's doing deals with the Chinese Communist Party, who have a very, very shoddy human rights record, particularly when it comes to Uyghur Muslims that they're keeping in concentration camps. And Dan is there virtue signaling to all of us about how we need to, how there's a toxic environment here, and talking about changing laws and all this kind of stuff as well, because apparently he can do whatever he likes, and all of us here in Victoria, we're the bad people, and he's doing deals with all these dodgy folks in the CCP. This is what our country has become. Anyway, I just went a bit off tangent there from my original topic. This is a video from 9 News talking about Mark McGowan's new plan to extend his pandemic powers.
McGowan has signalled a return to tough border laws used during the pandemic. The WA Premier allowing police to stop and search anyone entering the state. Reporter Jack Hahn is following the story live from Perth Airport. Jack, when will the laws come into place?
Well, later this year, Melissa, and they'll be in effect until 2028. The laws will give WA Police more power than any other state or territory in the country. The Premier, Mark McGowan, wants to replicate pandemic conditions because he claims there was a dramatic decline in meth use while border closures were in effect. So every traveller will be subject to stop and searches in the hope of catching drug smugglers. This will happen in 21 locations, including every land crossing with the Northern Territory and South Australia, as well as ports and train stations. But high on that list will be here at Perth Airport. Travellers won't be searched the second they step foot off the aircraft, not even in the terminal. In fact, officers will set up checkpoints on the roads leaving the airport so that they can subject vehicles to searches tonight. Criminologists are warning laws like this have the potential to be abused. Melissa.
Jack, thank you.